What's going on, guys? In today's video, I've got 5 tips to help you pick a campsite. What's going on, guys? My name is Dan. I love hiking, I love backpacking, I love gear. If you guys like that stuff too, would you consider subscribing to the channel? Because that's what this channel is all about. So today we're going to talk about picking a campsite. What's the best way to do it, and how do you get a good night's sleep? We're going to make a couple of assumptions. This is either early spring, late spring, summer, fall, late fall, but this is not like a winter camping experience where you're going to have to, dig yourself a trench in the snow or anything like that. But this is just the general backpacking, picking out a campsite type of a video. All right, tip number 1, download the Guthook app, download Gaia GPS, and research the area that you're going to be camping, or assume about the approximate location that you're going to be camping, and find out what other people have already discovered about that location. A lot of times you'll find comments, a lot of times you'll find waypoints, a lot of times you'll find things in that app that can really give you good information about where you're headed to camp, or about where you'd like to camp. Number 2, pick the high ground, but not too high. Here in Wisconsin, we've got a lot of hills and we've got a lot of valleys. I hike often at a place called the Kettle Moraine, and that place can be really, really high and it can be really, really low. It was formed by glaciers way back in the day, so the land is really crazy. And one thing you want to avoid is those deep valleys. They can be really tempting to camp in because you can kind of be up on the trail and look down and be like, man, that just looks so beautiful down there. I bet you it would be perfect. I could avoid all the wind. I could avoid all that storm. I could avoid whatever. But just know that what happens with heat and what happens with cold, heat rises and cold sinks. So down at night, what's going to happen is that valley is going to get really, really cold. That's where the cool air is going to go down to lay, and it can make the temperature of your night pretty miserable. Number 3, look for soft ground. Try to avoid the ground that's hard and rocky, because if it does rain, it always seems to rain, doesn't it? Water tends to stay standing, or it can just run right exactly where you're trying to camp, and it can make it a difficult experience for your campsite. So look for moss, look for leaves, look for pine needles, look for something that can absorb water, and look for something that can make that ground a little bit more comfortable for you. Clearing the ground for a tent, you think it's going to be an easy experience, but if there's a lot of stuff on the ground, leaves or pine needles or that kind of stuff, it can hide a lot of the rocks and the pine cones and the sticks underneath. So there's nothing worse than putting your tent out, you lay down in it, it's all staked out and ready to go, and then there's one rock right in the middle of your back, and you got to take down that whole stinking tent just to get rid of a rock. Number 4, camp near a water source if possible. It always makes the camping experience more pleasurable when you've got water to clean your pot, to camel up for the next day, or to cook food with. But if you can, always try to find a water source. One thing you want to do is camp away from the water, maybe 150 to 200 feet. A lot of times water sources can be really buggy, so a lot of the mosquitoes can be around those water sources. But then also you want to keep your human contamination away from the water as much as possible. I know it's tempting, but don't poop in the water. It's really nasty. I don't want to drink that. Do you? And number 5, look up. Always look up. Make sure that there aren't dead trees or dead limbs that are overhead above you that could make your night a really, really miserable experience. How many guys have been backpacking before and you've heard that tree come crashing down in the middle of the night and it about woke you up and you wet your pants and you just thought you were about dead? Maybe you thought it hit you in the head, I don't know, but it was scary. Bonus tip, pitch your tent or pitch your hammock appropriate to the wind direction that is predicted for that night. Maybe you want to avoid the wind because it's cold out. Maybe you want some wind because it's really hot out, so you want that breeze coming through. But think ahead and make sure whatever direction you're going to lay your hammock or whatever area you're going to pitch your tent, that you keep in mind the weather and the wind and how that's going to affect you guys throughout the night. If you're a hammock camper, pick trees that don't sway. What you want to do is just walk up to a tree, give it a good shake, and if it's going to shake when you move it back and forth, that thing is going to move with the wind and you're going to be rocking. And if you like that sort of thing, that's fine, but I'm not much of a rocker at night. I like to keep my hammock nice and steady because I'll wake up and think I'm sinking in a ship or something like that. All right, guys, so that was just a couple tips to help you guys pick out a campsite when you're backpacking. If you like this video, would you please hit that like button? Please make sure you subscribe for more. Hit that bell notification so I can send you a notification every time there's a video, and we will see you on the next one.